Hi, my name's Paul Lindley. I'm founder and chief executive of Ella's Kitchen, and I'm also Ella's dad. Ella's Kitchen was founded in 2006. We've grown from one employee, me unpaid, to 57 now. We've gone from a turnover of nothing to a turnover of well over £50 million. I've sold the business to become part of a bigger group called Hain Celestial, who buy brands that are all about health and wellness, and I'm now chief executive of their kids, toddler and infant division, which is all about Ella's Kitchen and another brand, Earth's Best, and now we're a £200 million business. So before I came up with the idea of Ella's Kitchen, I'd been in work for 15 years. I'd been a chartered accountant with KPMG, and then for 10 years I worked for Nickelodeon. I started as the finance guy and I ended up as general manager. And over that time, I learned so much about the consumer, kids. I understood how boys and girls are different, how a 3-year-old and 8-year-old think differently, how they relate to each other, how they relate to parents, and how they relate to brands. And also over that time, I got to know a lot about poor health with children, which was the seed, I guess, of what became Ella's Kitchen. That 30% of our kids are overweight, 20% are obese, and it came across my desk at Nickelodeon because TV was seen as part of the problem when actually it can be part of the solution. But that was my background. It gave me the confidence and the insight to set up what became Ella's Kitchen. I've always thought about entrepreneurial ideas, and I really respect and appreciate the people who act upon them in their teens and 20s. It took me into my 30s to have enough belief to do it, to know that I'd got the right idea, and to have that confidence to go for it. But I've always tried to think differently, and to try and do unusual things and to try and make a difference. And when I thought about Ella's Kitchen, the idea of that, I knew that this was the one, and I put everything behind it, and off we went. I thought Ella's Kitchen would be a great idea over about 6 month period. And two things were really influencing me. One, I had my own child, Ella, who the company is named after, and really that story, that real life story that many parents go through of trying to wean your child, and they start to stop eating foods that they'd eaten for the first 2 or 3 months, and you think, oh my god, I'm a bad parent, oh my god, my child's never going to eat anything again. And I just tried silliness and mess and fun and games and anything to try and make her laugh, relax her, relax me, and pop a spoon into her mouth. So that sort of understanding that children can find food fun and they'll eat it was one thing. And then my experience at Nickelodeon and my understanding of the society problem we've got in the West of children growing up less healthy than their parents made me think that there's a social aspect to this, and business can be used as a social thing that can benefit society. So I had the idea of a brand with making profits but also contributing to society, and that's when I had the moment that I thought, this is a great idea, it's going to work, I'll hand in my notice and I'll give myself 2 years to try and get to market, and that's what we did. Well, having an idea and acting upon it are two different things. Loads of us have loads of ideas. And I guess the things I thought through were, is this sustainably different? If it's a great idea and somebody sees it's a great idea and wants to copy it, how quickly can they copy it? And that's where I really thought about establishing a brand and brand values and something that would be unique to Ella's and mean something very different to all the other brands that were out there was the thing that was really important. We actually came with unique, innovative, revolutionary, I'd say, packaging and ideas about recipes, and so proud that that's changed baby food already a number of years later. And by the time my Ella has her babies, will be the dominant form of packaging, and Ella's will be one of the brands around the world that's known. But to know that you've got something that's sustainable and different is one key thing. You've got to be able to make sure that you stay different. Second thing, really, in acting upon it, is I did my maths, and I knew that I got a model that would work. And the third thing really was about innovation and how could we create products that were different to everybody else. as any challenger brand is, and certainly a startup brand, your points of difference have got to be around the innovation area. They're never going to be about cost or volume. So I put those three things together, and I had the confidence that I had the experience and the passion for creating this brand and making a difference to children's baby food, and off I went. I was creating a food company and I didn't have a background in food. But what I did have was a background for 10 years of professional with the consumer. And I was a new parent and passionate about children's issues and children's rights and children's development. So I had experience in the area, even though I didn't know about food professionally. I was an amateur cook, involved with food and cooking at home for many years. So I was interested in that area. So, but I was very aware I didn't know the professional side of it. So the first things I did was learn, and go to lots of conferences, beg, borrow, and steal where I could. Maybe just beg, borrow. The insight that other people had, got connections, paid for some consulting to teach me about how professional kitchens work, how professional plants work, how you can scale up things that you have an idea in your kitchen to run out of a big plant, and did all those things in the first few months, to get that knowledge. But I was grounded in in business. I was a chartered accountant, so I knew my numbers, and I was grounded in the consumer. So it wasn't something that was totally random. It was. I had a lot of experience in certain areas, and I made sure that I got more experience in the areas that I didn't have. So the moving from having a concept and then having some sample products and then having a big batch, is something that anybody growing a business really needs to think about. We made our first products, the recipes, around our kitchen table, literally, with my two children and their friends, and working out which one tastes best, and the rest of that, and got so much insight from that. You know, kids are absolutely fantastic at giving everything, but giving insight and giving feedback. They are so honest. They love it, they hate it, they'll let you know very quickly. And a little bit of insight from that was my 4-year-old at the time, Paddy, was sitting around the table, and I asked him which smoothie he preferred, as we had a number around the table, and he said the red one. And he loved the red one because fire engines were his favourite things, and you could slurp it, and red was in his bedroom, and all these random things. But guess what? A 4-year-old thinks that way, and we called our first product the red one because a 4-year-old called it the red one. So little bits of insight like that along the way. But then moving from we've got the right recipe to a pilot plant, so we knew it could be produced commercially, and then upscaling that into a proper plant, produced in a factory. It takes time and takes trials, but we were very careful to find the right people who knew how to make in bulk and would be scalable for the business that I would hope would grow, with a tremendous experience of all the technical side of it, that they would produce what we asked, when we asked, to the standards that we asked, with the ingredients that we gave them. I found people to help start our business, through research, and I think there's never been a better time, an easier time to get research. We've got the internet, we've got social media groups, we've never more than 2 people away in LinkedIn to people who know people that we can easily get hold of. And if you think about it, a generation ago, that was pretty impossible. You'd pay people to do that. So I used all those tools, and this was a number of years ago, before some of the social media was there. But I used the internet, and I used free things where I could find them. So we're an organic brand, so the Soil Association has a Bible of all its members, and I went through that, and I phoned some, and they said it's not ours, talk to this other people, and I talked to them, and they said talk to other people, and I found the right people that could help me with the vision that I had to practically execute it, so that we had tested products with people who had experience in making them, and could grow with our scale. So I think research is something that anybody thinking about starting a business should spend a lot of time doing, and it's not expensive and it's not difficult these days. We do have very random flavors, very intriguing flavors, and that's part of the creativity of trying to be different. So we mix fruit and vegetables together, things that people might think would never go together. We tested them, they do go together. And we thought, okay, maybe mums and dads may not use these mixes of things together at home. They might not think about doing that. Or maybe they're quite unusual vegetables or fruits in there. Or maybe they're quite difficult to prepare vegetables and fruits in there. So we mix them, they work. Our best sellers are some of the unusual things still that go together. And that's part of the twist. Part of what Ella's brand is a creativity and a childlike view of why shouldn't these things go together. Some don't work, but in the testing phase, some definitely do work, and that's what we're quite proud of, that we've just modernised and moved on baby food to modern palates. So in the 2 years I took to get Ella's Kitchen from a concept to market, I knew what the brand would be at the very beginning, and I was very clear about that, and it's still today what it was those years ago. But I had no idea what products would be, and I spent those 2 years working out the crazy recipes we do and looking for packaging and looking for something that was different. And I found pouches in France, not in baby food, in adult food, and I just thought that is part of the answer, because modern families where mum and dad maybe are juggling kids and money and time, they're looking for convenience, they're looking for health, and the child's looking for engagement. And one of the things that we really focus on within Ella's is trying to bring together health, handiness, and fun. And these pouches do it in spades, and no one had ever tried to put it in baby food before. Everybody told me you can't see into a pouch, and you can see into a glass jar, so you won't be able to see the food, so it won't work. And I did research with my wife's book club and friends and the nursery groups and things like that, and they that wasn't an issue. But what was great was that we could brand these up really colourfully and make it really child engagement, that children can feed themselves over a certain age, and that's a massive developmental stage which they can't clearly do with a jar. The format allows you to cook to a lower temperature and pasteurize food rather than sterilize it, and they're really convenient with a switch, with a cap that just screws on to pop into a handbag to take out. So it's suddenly, by using this format and pioneering this, we were able to bring meals for babies out of the home and for them to eat that very easily, and to really get children to really engage in food and attract them across all of their senses, rather than just looking at a glass jar and being fed. And we've revolutionized baby food. I'm very proud of that. Better food for more children, more families, and an easier format for everyone all round. Well, in starting up, I'd encourage everybody to think as creatively as they possibly can. I had a limited amount of money, and I knew where I wanted to spend that. I wanted to spend it with the consumer. I wanted to spend it on development and the marketing push once we got into the market. So I thought creatively, and the two sort of things that really I did at the very beginning, which I think there's can be learnings from. One is I got our customers to pay us before we needed to pay our suppliers. So we didn't have to carry stocks for the first few years. Once we produced out of one plant and had a relatively small number of customers, we could make that work. And that's a massive working capital saving. As we got bigger and we got more products from more plants with more customers, the sort of risk of running out of stocks was more important than the risk of running out of money, I guess, that's tied up in stocks. And we started to hold the stock, and we had our own warehouses and that sort of thing. But in the beginning, was creative enough to set up the commercial agreements that I needed minimum amount of cash. A second thing that we did was to do with marketing. So I came from a television background, and I went around the television industry, the kids television industry, and asked them if they had any spare inventory, any spare advertising time that I might be able to use. And I told them that I didn't have any money, but I hoped to make some money, and that if I did make some money, I'd share that with them for raising the awareness of our new brand. And one of them did buy into that and used us as an example of how small businesses can use television for advertising. It's not too daunting and it's affordable, and we shared our revenues with them for 2 years, and we built our business that way. But again, that was no cash up front, no risk to the cash up front, and the only risk was that we didn't sell anything and someone had given us airtime that they perhaps wouldn't have sold otherwise. So we started our business around our kitchen table with my daughter Ella, my children, their friends, and we've grown it to an international business now, and we have the aspirations to be the leading global business for premium food for children around the world. And always had that huge ambition, that big hairy goal. And I think goals that are slightly beyond your reach are better than goals that you think you're going to achieve, because you always strive to get to that next level. But in having those big goals, I was very conscious from the very beginning to set up everything that was scalable. So to use plants and suppliers that could grow with us, to go into the big supermarkets, the big retailers straight away, without the traditional way would be to go to delis or farm shops or farm markets and build yourself up. I went we launched with Sainsbury's, 350 stores from the beginning without having sold a penny's worth of anything to anyone. So you have to think about with things like that is cash is king. It's so easy for a fast-growing business to run out of cash just as much as it is a failing business, and to really watch your stock levels and your working capital, and to bite off what you can chew, not more than you can chew. So from a business point of view, really important to think about sustainability there. From a brand point of view, to take the time to invest in understanding what your customer wants, what your consumer wants, and deliver that, not a product that's nearly like that, but can be copied, or isn't quite what the consumer wants, or isn't what they want next year. So building a brand around values and not around opportunities or short-term opportunities was a big thing for us. And that's not only helped our brand maintain its point of difference, but it's also allowed us to recruit exceptional people, absolutely fantastic team that's been consistent from day one, because we've been grounded in a set of values that underpin our company from day one. So if you want to get into the big retailers, whether you're in food or an FMCG product, that's the holy grail, I guess. And we went in straight away, and that was the goal from the beginning. And what that requires is an amazing amount of tenacity. Just never, ever, ever give up, because it's going to take you forever to find the right buyer, for them to respond to a phone call or an email, for you to have a meeting, and then for you to get the listing. But it's possible. And if you go in there with a story and insight and research which is more than they have, then you should be very confident that you are giving them an opportunity that is unique and is sustainable. But you've got to have done that research to know with the confidence that you have something that they want, you have something that the consumer wants, and that is sustainable. So to never go in as soon as you can. Wait till you know that you've got the story that they may want to hear, and it's worth taking that time. You've got one chance, I think, with them. Otherwise, your sort of reputation goes. So take the time. Don't rush to get to the market. Take the time so that you've got the right products with the right brand and the right reason for them to take you. And the final thing I'd say is, none of this is easy, but if you try and put yourself in the other person's head, why are they taking the meeting? What are they wanting out of the meeting? Why is that buyer? When is that buyer going to go to their boss, and what's the story they're going to explain why they think it should be listed? And if you listen more than you talk, you find out more, and there'd be my bits of advice. We were turned down many times, turned down for meetings, turned down for phone calls, and then turned down by retailers. And one retailer took the risk, and we delivered against that. And when some success is seen, all the others came back, and we launched across the country pretty quickly within 6 months. So from the beginning, we've had a global aspiration, a big hairy goal. We wanted to be the brand of premium food for kids around the world that would help kids eat better with healthier, convenient food. So we launched with one retailer in the UK in 2006. By the end of 2006, we were in most of the retailers in the UK. By the time we got to 2009, we'd had a lot of approaches from a lot of different distributors and retailers around the world, and we felt it was the time to take our first step with an export market. And we worked hard and closely with research companies and advisors to work out which were the best markets, and Scandinavian markets were the ones for us. We launched into Sweden and Norway in 2009, and now we have a 30% market share of the baby food market in Norway, and fast growth, leading premiumization of baby food across Scandinavia. We set up a subsidiary in America in 2009, and now that business, our Ella's Kitchen business in America, has a wide awareness, lots of distribution, and is a profitable, growing business in America. And we're here today in 14 countries around the world. We could have gone to many more. We will go to many more, but we want to learn, just as a baby learns how to walk before they run, we want to make sure that we walk our way to success sustainably, and make sure that in every country we go to, we understand the consumer, we understand the retail setup, and we understand the investment that we need to make sure that we're different to everybody else, rather than just flooding the market with product and hoping that it sells. We have always had a goal to be a global business, and we have a very simple measure that we've followed from you on. We've had an ambition to get 1 billion tiny tummy touch points, we call them, 1 billion servings of Ella's food. How long will that take? What countries do we need to be in? What products do we need to have? Which consumers do we need to buy us? How often do they need to buy us? All of those questions kind of roll up into that. But our newest employee and our longest employee know that we're aiming for 1 billion tiny tummy touch points, and they know how many we made last month and how many we're trying to make next month, as do all our stakeholders and our partners that we work with. And so in our evolution, we thought, well, are there people that can help us achieve those tiny tummy touch points quicker, with less risk? And we thought, well, we'd listen to people that thought that they could help us. And lots of people sort of came and spoke to us, and some people could truly help us and some couldn't. But we got to a point where we were talking to people who had similar values to us, and really whose business was all about improving health and wellness for people. We reached a great value, and we realized that there's a lot of added value that our partnership could bring. So in May 2013, we sold to Hain Celestial, a fantastic partner who have invested in 40 brands over the years, all about health and wellness, and who align with our values. So now what we've done within that is create a global infant, toddler and kids division, of which I'm chief executive, and my team are empowered to run both the Ella's Kitchen and the Earth's Best brand, which is an American organic brand, the pioneering organic brand of baby food in the world, with now over $300 million of sales, and the inward investment into the UK from both my team and the funds to grow those two brands. So we're really pleased that we've got the right partner at the right time, and we can go on and try and get more children to have better food for the rest of their lives. So growing a business is really, really hard. There are different pressures that come all the time. You can anticipate some come from completely left field. I've tried to ground my business in values. Very early on, I identified what the values would be from the business, and we formalized them into 5 clear values. And I think the hardest part of growing any business is to find an exceptional team and to empower that team to be motivated by a sense of purpose, to allow them the autonomy to make mistakes, and to be accountable for them, but it's fine to make mistakes, and to let them be masters of their area. And if you get that right, your team can do an amazing job for you, because you as the entrepreneur might have the vision and the idea, but your team can add to those ideas, take them somewhere else, execute them, live and breathe your brand. And it's fantastic when it happens, but it just doesn't happen on its own, and you have to work and work and work really hard to make sure that you get the right people with the right attitude to do amazing things. And I'm so proud of the Ella's Kitchen team. two of the best things I think about creating your own brand and seeing a business grow is day one, first consumer buying your product off your shelf, something that was in your head 6 months before, something that's got your daughter's face and daughter's name on the product, and then seeing a total stranger buy your product and have a chat with her as to why she bought that, and understanding that actually what was in your head and why people might buy your product is the actual reason that they're buying it. So that was an amazing moment, and I loved sort of being in the stores and talking to mums and dads who are thinking about buying or have bought our products and hearing their real life stories. So that gives me a huge kick and is so worthwhile. And the second thing is I remember each time I have seen a piece of litter that's Ella's Kitchen in different countries and thinking, oh my goodness, by the time I just randomly walk around a street corner and see something in a park bin and it's Ella's Kitchen, I know we've arrived there, and that's a feeling that I didn't anticipate that was what be one of the landmark moments, but it is. So my two tips for aspiring entrepreneurs, one would be do a business that you're passionate about. Don't do a business because your mate said they saw a product in another country and they thought that you might like to do it here. If you've got no interest, no experience in that area, you're not going to succeed, in my view. So be passionate, but you also need to be tenacious and creative to get there. You've got to think of ways of getting to market or reasons for people want to buy your product or service that others haven't done before, and that's easier said than done. And take your time to research what ideas you've got there, and then be prepared to be told no and no and no again, and eventually, if it's a good idea, you'll be told yes. And the other thing then, I think, is once you've got all that established, build your business on a set of values. Establish why you've set up your business, what your brand or your business stands for, underpin it with a number of values, and then every time you come across a problem or a challenge you've never faced before, instead of giving random direction or random answers to the problem, you're couched in a number of values that will direct you to give a consistent response and direct your business as to really where it should be going if those values are really true to what you believe in.